We'll go ahead and get started. First question, Jonathan Fagan.
Hi. Now that you have pretty much everybody healthy, beyond the help that comes from having the guys you want playing, is there just even an emotional lift of maybe have gotten through the part of who's playing tonight, part of the season?
Yeah, it's definitely good to know that we're gonna have our full group and we can kind of start figuring out what our rotation look like and don't have to be beholden to the limitations of the roster and injuries and COVID and every other thing that has kind of crept into our season so far. So yeah, it's great to know that we're gonna have a full group tonight and see what we can do.
Even beyond tonight, though, is there an emotional lift that comes from that? You guys will go to practice tomorrow, and there won't be anybody in the training room.
Yeah, it'll be nice. It'll be nice, but you know, it changes things for some guys. So it'll be an emotional lift, I think, for the group, but for some individuals, it might not be such a lift just because guys aren't gonna get as many minutes probably as they had been previously.
Thank you.
Soman Ali.
Hey, Stephen. Who starts tonight?
We got Wall, Oladipo, Tate, Tuck, and Wood.
Zach Allen.
Hey, Coach. Can you hear me, Coach?
You in the car?
Yeah, I'm in the car, man. Yes. Hey, Coach. I'm pretty sure you understood, but how they run different pin downs for Damian Lillard at the top of the key. So he picks whichever side he goes to for a 3-point shot. How will y'all defend that tonight, Coach?
Oh man, yeah, you can't lose contact with them. You have to be on the body. And then it's just dependent on where you want the screener's defender to be. Do you want him to be all the way up to the point where he's helping contest those shots, but you're also allowing slips to the rim, rolls where you're gonna have to have a low man and get into your protection spots, or do you want him back so at least you can handle some of that 5-man stuff? But the main thing is you have to be on his body and try to get over as much as possible, because when you go under, he's a killer.
Hey, Coach, will you also move the zone up as well? Because he takes certain shots from 50 feet away at the midpoint. So will you also move the zone up as well?
What was your question? I'm sorry.
My fault. Will you also move the zone up, and just in case he takes shots from 30 feet away from the 3-point line?
Yeah, I mean, there's a limit to how far we'll go out with him, and if he makes all those shots that are so far beyond the 3-point line, you just pat him on the back and you go the other way. But we can't have our defense compromised by extending it out so far, because when you're out that far, it spreads the defense out too much, and it's really hard to guard. So there is a limit to how far out we will go.
Brian Bearfield.
Coach, I want to take you away from the court for a second. And, that the Houston Texans hired a new head coach, David Culley, on the other side of town from you. And now he's coming in almost at the same situation which you came into. Do you have any advice for him on how to handle this situation?
I don't know that I handled it that great, but you just kind of have to focus on what you can control. And there's so many things coming into a situation that you have to handle and take care of beyond the situation with individual players. There's your staff that you're putting together. There's the culture that you're trying to instill. There's offense and defense and so many different things that you have control over and you have to establish right away when you get into the building. So the other things are really not in your control. And even though you worry about them and you think about them and you maybe have private discussions about them, you control what you can. And these jobs are so hard that you have to really concentrate on the structure that you're putting together, the culture that you're trying to establish, and making sure that you hire the right people that can help you do that.
Ben DeBose.
Coach, I know with everyone pretty much healthy at this point, you have a lot of options as far as your starting lineup. For Jae'Sean, at least for now, I'm sure it's in flux, but for him to sort of lock down that spot for the time being at small forward as a rookie, what have you seen from him that makes you comfortable in him as basically your starting small forward?
He's just trustworthy. He makes the right plays, makes the right reads, usually in the right spot on both ends of the floor. Is a good rebounder on both ends. That's one thing that we need to make sure that we continue to do, is rebound the ball. We didn't do a great job in the first quarter of the Washington game, but the first half of the Washington game, but the second half we did a much better job. And, you just like to have people on the floor that you can trust and you know what you're going to get from them. And he's one of those guys.
Adam Spollen.
Hey, Stephen, I wanted to ask you kind of a David Culley question as well. You two have somewhat similar backgrounds just because you were an assistant coach for a long time, just like he was. Just how much does your life change when you take that head coach role?
Oh, it changes so much. It changes so much. There's always something to think about. There's always when you're an assistant, you can kind of, turn off sometimes. And when you're a head coach, there's just so many people and things that you have to think about. There's ownership, there's management, there's your players, there's your staff, and not just your coaching staff, but the performance team and the other staff that you have to be attentive to. And there's just it's like a completely different job. Being an assistant, you're kind of focused and tunnel vision on your players and your scouts that you're doing to prepare for the next game, and then helping your head coach. And that's about it. But moving into the head coach position, there's just a lot that you have to be on top of, and there's a lot of time that goes into it, but there's also a lot of thought that goes into it. So those nights that I was having as an assistant coach, where I was able to go to sleep and not really think about what's coming the next day or what situation I have to handle, those are the things that keep me up at night. And that's the great part of it, because it's a huge challenge and it's fun, and there's so much about it to love, but it's hard. It's just a hard job, and it's a lot harder than being an assistant.
Is there anything that you did to try and make the transition a little bit easier? Anyone you talk to, anything like that?
Yeah. I mean, I lean on my mentors all the time. I'm always talking to my dad, obviously. Steve Clifford, I talk to quite a bit. Rick Carlisle, I talk to quite a bit. So I'm always leaning on the people who have done it before and asking a bunch of questions, and even people outside of basketball who are leaders and have to deal with, managing people at different levels and making sure that everybody's pulling in the same direction. So if you're in it as long as he has been in it and I've been in it, then you have a lot of people, a lot of resources that you can kind of go to and help you through, because he'll need it. I need it. Everybody who's new needs some help.
Thank you, Coach. Thank you, everyone. See you post game.